Well, thank you very much. This is the first time I've been on the podium in one of these events for quite a few years, having retired to the ranks of the non-executive directors. But as I'm sure most of you are aware, our MD of 3.5 years, who provided some very good service to the company, stepped down to pursue other interests recently, and his replacement, Gabrielle Leono, doesn't start with us until next month. So I'm filling the gap. But in reality, the team at Mincor is just continuing to do what they have done tremendously well over several years, and I'm there as the thick head. So please cut me a bit of slack in giving this presentation, as I'm a little bit rusty, and I follow on David, who was very smooth in these deliveries. One area I know I can improve on those, there won't be any references to the All Blacks and Wallabies in this presentation, which is something David couldn't seem to resist. So the first thing I did before considering this presentation was to look back at what David promised last year. I just wanted to make sure I can explain any deviances from what he told the audience we were going to do. But I was really pleased to see that really there wasn't any, that we had delivered, I think, exceptionally well on what we'd set out to do and what we told the market over the last couple of years. And that's despite some really difficult operating environment that, again, everyone is well aware of through COVID and the supply line shortages and people shortages. So as we gloss over the obligatory disclaimer, which is on our website and the ASX platform, I'll go through the checklist of what we have accomplished over the last 12 months since this presentation was last delivered. And probably the first on the list, I think, that's most relevant is we're back in production in nickel after a hiatus of about 6 years, which is tremendous. And that's from 2 operations. And it's 2 new deposits, i.e. these are Mincor discovered deposits who haven't previously been mined until we started producing ore from them over the last couple of months. The other really important factor is we're back into cash flow from nickel sales, which was a great event which happened in the June quarter this year. Development is still ongoing, so we're still spending a fair bit of cash on that, and we're ramping up towards hitting a nameplate capacity, which will occur sometime towards the end of this current financial year. We've also had success in exploration. We are remaining very active in exploration because we want to sustain this business beyond the mine life we started with. And we're incredibly pleased with the success we've had in the early phases. We've defined another new ore lens designated LN04A, and we're still waiting for someone to come up with a better name than that for it. I'm sure that will happen soon. But that is a brand new ore position that we've put a resource around this year. We're in a strong financial position. I think at the last conference, David indicated we were looking to negotiate a corporate finance facility. And this is something that most companies our size and our stage of life don't have. Compared to a project finance loan that has a lot of constraints and obligations on the borrower, this corporate facility gives us a great deal of flexibility and just that extra bit of cash buffer to ride out any bumps in the road. We're now in the position where we employ over 240 people in our operations. It's between ourselves and our principal contractor, Pit and Portal Underground. And so it's tremendous to be able to say that. It hasn't been easy finding that many quality people in the workforce, but I'm really pleased with the success we've had and success our contractors had in attracting good people to the operations. We've also delivered our inaugural sustainability report last year, and we'll be doing that again very shortly. Although, as I'll sort of outline later on, I think it hasn't changed the way we operate. We've always had a strong culture in terms of how we regard our ESG commitments. The other recent event for us is that we were admitted to the ASX 300 just very recently, so it's pleasing to see our growth. So where we are today, we're a company of market capitalisation of around $1 billion. We've traded at that level since the start of this calendar year, more or less, a little bit up, a little bit down sometimes, with volatility reflected in the general market. We peaked at about over 1.3 million around June, and then came down a little bit with the general correction. At June 30, we still had about $79 million in cash. So as I said, we're in a pretty strong financial position to continue our activities. And one of the other things I'm pretty proud of in relation to our cash spend is that we estimated that we'd spend about $107 million before we saw our first nickel production, and we actually produced nickel after spending about 96 or whatever it was, thereabouts. So that's another bit of a rarity in the current market where we are sort of battling a lot of cost escalation and difficulties in that regard. And as I touched on before, we have that facility in place to provide us a little bit more cash buffer. So where we see ourselves now, we consider ourselves to be the sort of premier nickel play on the ASX, because there's very few pure nickel plays around at the moment, particularly when you're talking about nickel sulfide. So we are now growing to be the largest pure nickel sulfide play on the ASX. And we also feel that our jurisdiction that we operate in, being in Western Australia, is also a key attribute that we have. And so hence, we think we're a good proposition if someone's looking for exposure to first quality nickel. Our strategy is pretty simple. We've got two operating centres, the northern operations, which you can see to the top of the image there. Well, it's too far away to bother pointing it. And that's the Kambalda Dome, which was initially developed in the late 60s by Western Mining Corporation. There's been quite a number of operations. It's produced over 800,000 tonnes of nickel in metal over its life. That was sold off to a number of different parties in about 2000 by WMC. We have reconsolidated much of that Kambalda Dome position in recent years, and we're certainly the dominant player there now. We have the control of the largest producing operations in that area. We have, as I said before, discovered two new deposits in that area, the Durka North, which was the centrepiece of our feasibility study when we committed to redevelopment, and the LN04A, which is the latest discovery. And that's located just 2 kilometres away from BHP's concentrator. The other area of focus is the Widgimultha Dome, where Mincor historically has operated a number of mines. But again, the key element in our restart was the new Cassini Mine, which was initially discovered by Mincor in 2015, but with a limited amount of drilling, but wasn't pursued due to the difficulties in the nickel market at that point. We went back in with the drill in 2018 and declared our first resource there that year. We expanded the resource up to 60,000 tonnes of contained nickel metal before we made a commitment to develop. And if you look back at the history of Kambalda, there's 33 deposits or separate mining centres that have operated there over the 50 years since it started. Most started with initial resources much smaller than that. So 60,000 tonnes of contained metal pre-mining is one of the larger Kambalda operations out of the 33 that have operated there. So we have high hopes for where Cassini will ultimately go. So in terms of where we sort of sit in the Australian nickel scene, BHP Nickel West is clearly the largest producer of nickel and has the most infrastructure in place in the country. Their nickel smelter near Kalgoorlie was set up to treat Kambalda ore, and Kambalda style ore is a key ingredient in the feed. Even though BHP sources most of its nickel from further north in the goldfields from Leinster and Mount Keith, they need a different style of mineralisation, different composition to blend out some of the contaminants they have in their feedstock. And traditionally, it was coming from Kambalda. With Kambalda closing down in recent years, they've been sourcing concentrate from other sources, and they acquire concentrates from Forrestania and Nova, which are now both operated by IGO, of course. Both of those operations are quite mature, so BHP certainly welcomed the restart of Kambalda mining back and have been very supportive in our endeavours to restart operations there. We have an ore treatment concentrate purchase agreement in place with them, which was recently amended to give us very favourable conditions. Most notably is that we get paid 90% of contained saleable metal upon delivery to the ore pad before it's even processed. So it's a great boost for our cash flow. So talking about Cassini, we've set Cassini up as a modern, low impact mining operation. We've had the benefit of all the experience over the many years and the developments in the industry. So this is obviously the newest mine in Kambalda, and we believe it's really a great setup. We've put infrastructure in place that is geared up for a long life mining operation. Most recently, we've just built a new accommodation facility. When I say we've built it, it's all but finished. With the first occupants will move in within the next week or two. And that's a state-of-the-art facility that we think will aid us in retaining the quality workforce that we've been able to put together. In terms of extensions to life, what we're looking at here is a projection of the Cassini deposits. The areas in red are the current Cassini resource, and this is a bit of an old image in terms of the development there is only just approaching the ore, but we've now got quite a few levels developed within the ore. But there's a number of channels in the Cassini region, and we've had some very promising hits at Cassini North and that image, that dotted line to the left of the existing resource. And those initial higher level holes closely resemble what we were getting Cassini in the shallow holes. And we will be drilling that off from underground early in the next calendar year, as well as looking ultimately to drill further extensions to down plunge at Cassini Mine position from underground as we go. So we're very hopeful that we'll extend Cassini both down plunge, and we have high hopes of finding parallel channels that are also mineralised and capable of mining. In the northern operations, we started, as I said before, focusing on the Durkin North deposit, which is near the centre of that image. It was a deposit developed from predominantly surface drilling by Mincor, and we were accessing it through the Alta Juan workings, which are across to the right-hand side of that image. We acquired the long operations from IGO a few years back, and our strategy there was not to simply pick up the remnants that IGO had left behind at long, and there are some reserves there which we will be targeting shortly. But it provided us the opportunity to link up the long development and access with the access we're putting in from Otter to Durkin. And if you've ever driven down there, it's quite a distance to go from the portal to the actual ore position, and by providing that link between the two, it gave us a lot of operational advantages. One is ventilation was vastly improved by having flow-through ventilation, and also from a safety point of view, it gave us first-class secondary means of access. But the other driving factor is in acquiring long and linking the two of those areas up was there's over a 1 kilometre gap along the Kambalda Dome where there was no mineralisation defined. It basically hadn't been drilled. It was pretty difficult to access from surface, and the underground platforms didn't provide access to it. So as we've been ramping up from long towards the Durkin North, we've been drilling from the stockpiles, and we had pretty well instant success as we were hitting some nickel mineralisation in a previously unidentified surface. We put a resource around that earlier this year, which we published. There's over 20,000 tonnes of nickel at almost 4%, and so we're just over the moon for that initial discovery. And importantly, it's very much open. So we've outlined the area we've drilled initially, but the drill's still down there now. We're looking to extend it up dip from that, and we're looking to extend it across towards Durkin, and we're drilling near Durkin itself. So we see no reason why it won't link up all the way to Durkin, and certainly there's up and down plunge is still an opportunity. So that was a tremendous start in our exploration. As I said before, exploration we see as a key component of our activities in order to sustain our operations. From an ESG point of view, as I said, Mincor's got a great culture. You've got to give credit to David Moore and the team who started this company over 20 years ago. They really did a good job. And I'm pleased that we've been able to keep that culture alive. And so ESG has always been a consideration in how we make decisions on our activities. But we've gone a step beyond that and sort of formalised it and documented it with the release of our first ESG report, and we're continuing to develop in that area. Again, thanks to David Moore and the team who started off, we've got a good relationship with the community. We're very well regarded, and that's been tremendous. That's aided us, attract the workforce we have today in restarting operations. And we're very pleased with the relationship we have with the community. The Shire of Coolgardie has been fantastic, very proactive. They're actually here at this conference and actually buying lunch for us today. So it's very rare that you'll find a government body as supportive and proactive in supporting our industry than the Shire of Coolgardie. So it's a great place to operate. I can see we're counting down very close to the end now, and I don't want to eat into next time. So I'll move things along. The expected news flow, we will be putting a reserve around our new discovery at LN04A very soon. We're doing the mine design work on that now. And so that's something you'll see us report not too far down the track, I hope. We'll also very shortly be providing our first guidance. Now we've sort of got things up and running, we'll give the market indication of how we see ourselves going for the rest of this financial year. The other very important thing, something I can't wait for, is the start of our new MD. And when Gabe gets here in November, so next month, she's already been spending a bit of time with us. So she currently works for Oz Minerals. She was general manager of their Prominent Hill operations over the last 4 years and done an amazing job of further developing and expanding that operation. It's incredible the number of people that come up to us since we announced that she was joining us and say what a good find we've made. She is a tremendous communicator, a tremendous performer in what she can achieve. and she's been spending a bit of time in her time off from Oz, getting to know the team, and she's going to site later this month. So when she joins us in November, she'll hit the ground running, and I'm looking forward to stepping back after that. So I've run out of time, so thanks very much for your attention. If there's anything more you'd like to find out about Mincor, we have a booth here at the conference, and so I'd be happy to talk to you then. So thank you.